Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Spotlight here on RCN. Glad you could join us tonight. You know, it's heartwarming to know that there are folks here in the Lehigh Valley who see a need and step up and take care of that need, and also find folks in the valley that can help support that need as well. We have a very touching story here tonight to tell you a little bit about how the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation started up just within the last couple of years, and the great efforts that have gone behind this organization to make sure that folks are getting screened for some of the most difficult cancers that exist, pancreatic and a host of others as well. It's also there to make sure that folks who are tending the needs of those who are ill, that their needs are met as well as they are doing their caretaking. It's a real heartwarming story that we want to share with you here tonight on Community Spotlight. We have some very special guests with us here this evening. From left to right, we have Dr. Christopher Chapman. He is a board member of the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation, also the medical director of MRI of Easton. And Dr. Chapman, we welcome you to Community Spotlight.
Thank you very much.
Representing the Visiting Nurse Association of St. Luke's University Health Network, we have Michelle Giletto, an organization, Visiting Nurse of St. Luke's, that's very much involved with hospice care through the St. Luke's Hospice, and caring for hospice patients also in their homes, which makes a lot of sense, it seems like, whenever that is a possibility. So Michelle, we welcome you to Community Spotlight. And Bob Agentis, the founder and the chairman of the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation. And Bob, we certainly welcome you to Community Spotlight. Bob, if it's okay, I'm going to read the mission statement of the organization that you started up, and of course it is named after your late wife, Judith Adele Agentis. The mission: a charitable foundation established to provide meals to hospice centers and to provide testing, early detection, awareness, and education about pancreatic and liver and colon cancers, some of the toughest ones out there, no doubt. Bob, it really does come straight from your heart to have this, to visualize the need, first of all, having gone through what you did with Judith, and to be able to do something about the needs that you saw.
Yeah, I found it at first more than compelling just to start bringing the food down there, having experienced, you know, hospice vigiling myself. And once I started, it sort of snowballed from there. Judy and I had a lot of friends. We dined out often because we were empty nesters. And after several weeks of doing it on my own, I started going back to some of the restaurants that Judy and I have gone to, and shared with them, you know, what had happened to Judy, and let them know what.
In Judy's case, it was a rather rapid progression of pancreatic cancer, I believe, and you've shared that on the website and all. The two facets of this organization are very compelling as well. The fact that you want to make sure that folks out there are getting screened for these really tough to manage cancers. And then also, if cancer is present in the family, to make sure that the folks that are the caretakers, the caregivers, that they can be provided for as well. And Michelle, I know with Visiting Nurse Services, you're very active in the hospice situations, as we talked about, both in the home and at St. Luke's hospice facilities as well. How do you feel about the significance of these two needs?
Well, it's amazing. Hospice care, that end-of-life care, will go to wherever the patient calls home. And the St. Luke's Hospice House, you can think of it as like a hospital for hospice patients. So it's for very acute symptoms, patients who we can't quite manage their symptoms at home. So we want them to have that 24-hour medical care and oversight. So they come to the hospice house. Some families are there for days, some are there for weeks. And it's It's a beautiful facility. It's the only freestanding facility in our region. And there is a kitchen there for families to gather and to cook for themselves if they want to. But like Bob said, when you're going through that, the last thing you're thinking about is leaving your family, your loved one, and going out and getting something to eat.
We're showing some of the photographs of the facilities and the services that you provide to the families. And it's a fantastic gathering of the restaurants that are donating this great food. Apollo Grill, Blue, Emeralds, Shula's, Melt, Hanoverville Roadhouse, Brick Tavern, Tepes on Main. We have Mesa Grill, Pacifico, The Villa. It's an outpouring of some of the finest restaurants, Bob, and a credit to you for gathering this kind of resource to help set the table, so to speak, for Judith's Table.
Yes, and it's kind of amazing that, you know, everybody that I've had the opportunity to speak with about Judith's Table were more than willing. They're absolutely happy to do it. And as I learned that most of them, as well as most of us, have had somebody that's close to us that have been diagnosed with cancer or have lost somebody through cancer. So it was pretty easy to do. It wasn't that difficult. And these are amazing people. They're generous, heartfelt people that want to give and want to do something. Absolutely.
And the three cancers, the pancreatic, the liver, and the colon, those are some of the more challenging ones in the medical community. So I think everybody, either if they don't know somebody, they know somebody that knows somebody that, you know, these three diseases have been in that circle of lives. Dr. Chapman, I imagine being a member of the board, this is something that's near and dear to your heart as well, and being involved in MRI and radiology, you work with folks that have these cancers, which can be screened for, it sounds like, in most cases.
Sure, I obviously am interested because I knew Judy and Bob since we moved to the Valley in '86, so you know, there was a personal interest. It's also spurred by the fact that every member of my wife's family, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, virtually everyone's died of cancer from young age, younger brothers to parents. So I'm real sensitive to the havoc it can wreak in somebody's life. And certainly in my specialty, we see these people come in and you get real close to them personally because they'll be coming in for repeated tests. And, you know, Bob's efforts are really pushing in the envelope on one of the most insidious cancers, unlike breast and colon, which 30 or 40 years ago people were dying of. Now the majority are being cured. And pancreatic has been one of those that hasn't received the notoriety because it's not quite as common and hasn't had the kind of success. And Bob is really pushing the envelope to say, okay, how can we change that?
Absolutely, and the efforts are being recognized, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well right when we get to our second segment here on Community Spotlight. The organization again is Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation. It is there for free screenings, and some of these screenings are not cheap, but this is an organization that realizes the importance of having screenings done, so they are there for the community in that regard, and also to make sure that the caregivers are taken care of as well. We'll have more on this right after this on Community Spotlight. And welcome back to Community Spotlight. Again, we're talking about the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation, which is very tied into some of the most challenging diseases that medicine has yet to really put a major dent into. We're talking specifically about the cancers of the pancreas, of the liver, and of the colon. And very happy to have with us Bob Agentis, Michelle Giletto, and also Dr. Christopher Chapman with us to talk a little bit about this great organization and the true need that exists for these services that this wonderful foundation provides. Dr. Chapman, let's talk a little bit about the challenges that still face the medical community with these types of cancers.
Sure. Well, pancreatic cancer, as we touched on before, is not quite as prevalent as breast cancer or colon cancer, which there's terrific publicity, screening, treatment options that can, via early detection, provide a cure. Pancreatic cancer, unfortunately, presents much later, usually clinically at the time there aren't early signs or symptoms in the majority of the cases, such that when you do diagnose it, it's generally spread and not amenable to a surgical cure. So the options available are generally palliative to try and help the person extend their life a little bit, but it doesn't provide itself for the cure. Bob says, let's try and approach this. How can we find a cure? There are some screening tests that can be done. Some are sensitive, which means they pick up the test but not specific. Some are specific, which means if they're positive, you have it, but they don't pick up all the tests. So there's not a test that you can go out and get a yes or no answer. So your options available are to try and identify a population that you might want to screen.
I see.
There are not a lot of people that fit that category. Approximately 10% of the pancreatic cancers are thought to be familial related or genetic.
I see.
Or associated with syndromes. Those are people the foundation could theoretically target to say, if your father died of this, like Judy's father did, you might want to see a medical oncologist and see about some further testing, be it imaging, be it blood test, what have you, and have a heightened surveillance as opposed to waiting for symptoms.
I see. But even the screening, it sounds like, is a challenge without the ability to say positive, negative.
Correct. Right now, the study, if a person suspects they have it, has abnormalities, symptoms, would be a CAT scan, okay? That's what our center and other centers who are affiliated with the foundation can provide locally for these individuals. It's probably considered the gold standard now and could be obtained as a baseline study. The definitive diagnosis comes from a biopsy. No study, imaging, or blood test is going to say 100% it's cancer. The only way you can do that is if you get a biopsy. 15 to 20% of the biopsies or resections are negative, which means an abnormal scan doesn't necessarily mean you have cancer. You have to get that tissue in your hand, you have to look at it under a microscope and find out if it does or not. What we're looking for are people that might have that kind of background or may have a genetic predisposition, such as a family members with familial melanomas. They have a higher incidence of cancer. People with familial pancreatitis, very common disease, but if you have familial pancreatitis, you're at a much higher risk. And recently, in the last 5 years, they've made an association, a risk factor, that if you have diabetes, you're at risk of getting pancreatic cancer. Makes sense. But now they're saying, wait a minute, the pancreatic cancer is causing the diabetes. It's not the other way around.
Really?
So now they're saying patients over the age of 55 who have type 2 diabetes, within 2 to 3 years of that diagnosis of diabetes, 1% of those people will present with overt signs of pancreatic cancer. It's there, it's causing the diabetes, but it's not presenting in the malevolent, painful, gross symptoms it does at an advanced stage. So this is theoretically a population, diabetics diagnosed after the age of 55, to say, let's do a CAT scan and see if you've got anything funny going on here, and if so, then we can get surgeons or oncologists involved.
Right. So that itself would be considered a breakthrough, I would think.
I think so, yes.
Excellent. And small steps lead to big ones, that's for sure, in the fight against these terrible diseases. The aspect of having the free screenings, by the way, is also has Judy's name on it, Judy's Heart, which I think is a wonderful way to describe the caring thoughtfulness that goes into offering a population of either underinsured or uninsured, or folks that are just strapped, you know, that can't really afford to get the screenings, and you know, maybe they have some of the family issues that Dr. Chapman described, and really should be screened. So that is a great service that you're providing for that.
Yeah, we hope that you know, through this whole process, that you'll be able to save a life from time to time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Michelle, I know, you know, basically boots on the ground, that's the Visiting Nurse Association. I would imagine that even a kind token of being able to make sure that the caring nurses are taking care of themselves. And Bob has seemed to think about that aspect of this as well with Judith's Table.
It's incredible. And not only is he providing for the families that are at the hospice house under service, but the staff. And the staff is there. The staff's not getting out. There's a kitchen there, but they're being called 24 hours a day. So it is not a punch the clock kind of job. And so the fact that he does this weekly for the staff and the families has been an amazing, amazing support to the hospice program.
I can only imagine how important it is for a nurse to not leave rooms at certain times, and for how many hours, countless, no doubt. And what a great service for when they can break away to have something there for them, Bob. Well done. We're going to take a quick break here and be back and talk a little bit about how you can get involved with this wonderful foundation and some of the folks that have already been involved. And I still have more restaurants to read too. We're going to get to that to let folks know who the donors are right after this. Stay with us. And welcome back to Community Spotlight here on RCN, talking about some tough medical issues here, no doubt about it. Pancreatic cancer, also liver cancer and colon cancer, three of the focuses of the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation. And that part, the free screening part, is known as Judy's Heart. The other part, the other sector or factor of this great organization is Judys Table, to make sure that there is food there for the caregivers and making sure that everybody is provided for in a hospice setting. Michelle, you were so kind to remind me that the gentleman to your left is the recipient of a wonderful award, which deserves to be noted, Bob, even though you probably, you humbly, you know, let me just say that you are recently honored with the Heart of Hospice Award from Pennsylvania Hospice Network in Harrisburg. All this coming within the first couple of years of this organization getting started up and going under your guidance. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And tell me a little bit about the honor and what it means to you.
Well, this honor really doesn't belong to me. It belongs to these wonderful people at Hospice House, and the doctors, the nurses, the caregivers, those people who go to homes to see the people. My partner restaurants, this is what makes up the Heart. It's not me, it's truly them. And you know, if I accepted that award, I accepted it on all their behalfs. It really wasn't me that did anything, it was all them, really.
Well, but very kind in diffusing the honor and the credit. You did a great job, though, in really filling a need that's needed in the medical community. And maybe I can ask our other two guests, Dr. Chapman and Michelle Giletto, what does it mean to the medical community when you see somebody like Bob Agentis stepping up and doing something about what is a need out there, or two needs for that matter?
It takes everybody. When you're caring for elderly and the sick, or you're caring for young, I mean, it just takes all of us to make a difference. And if, you know, one Bob Agentis comes along rarely. So if there's, you know, if we can find more Bob Agentises out there who are willing to really step up and think creatively and really make it happen, it's a great gift.
Absolutely.
I've known Bob obviously through his real estate and construction management, and saw what a great job he did for me professionally in the past, just tying 1,000 loose ends together and making a project a success. And I'm sitting at these board meetings and seeing him orchestrate all these people from different walks of life from Westchester County, New York.
Wow.
And he's just pulling people short of God and getting them like a symphony to perform. And I'm going, this guy could get somebody to Mars if he wanted to do it.
No doubt. We wouldn't put it past him, absolutely. And Bob, if you would, tell us what you want folks to take with them when they hear about your organization, and maybe the response that you would like to see folks have as far as being a part of your efforts.
Well, what I've found in doing this, it's become addictive. I mean, once you do it and once you get involved in an organization like this, it's hard to stop. I couldn't stop doing this. I mean, it would take someone to take my wheels off to really stop doing it at this point. And I would say that more than anything else, that the reward that you get out of it is far greater than the little bit of effort that you have to put into it.
We're showing the contact information here to get involved with this wonderful organization, the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation. You can see many ways to get in touch with the folks that are making these great efforts in the hospices throughout the Lehigh Valley, and also making sure that folks that need it the most are getting those critical screenings for some of the toughest cancers that are out there, so that they can, the ones that would need to, can get started early and effectively on a course of treatment. I promised these restaurants that I'd read them off to you, so bear with me, because there's so many great ones here that are providing food in the hospice situation. We thank each and every one of them. The Villa, Mario's Pizza, Sugar Babe Cupcakes. That's got to be a popular one. I know it would be for me. Yanni's Taverna, Starter's Pub, Billy's Downtown Diner, Soto Santi, The Mint, Martelluzzi's Pizza, Bechtold's Orchard, Bethlehem Dairy Store, The Borderline, Bonefish Grill, Prime Steakhouse, Braveheart Highland Pub, and I'm sure the list just keeps on going. Because if you're not on this list, you'll want to be on this list if you're a restaurateur. Bob, I apologize. We didn't get a chance to talk about your board of directors, but like Dr. Chapman, it sounds like they're just wonderful people. And thanks again for sharing your story here on Community Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. And I just wanted to mention one last thing. We are having a fundraising event at Corked Wine Bar and Steakhouse, Sunday, May 4th, 2 to 4 p.m. All proceeds, part of the proceeds will go to the foundation to enable us to help provide some of those screenings that are so direly needed.
Absolutely.
Or if they care to donate, there is a way of donating on the website.
Excellent. And more information on the fundraising efforts that you're making as well.
Yes.
Thanks, Bob. And thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Dr. Chapman. Thanks for joining us, folks. Good night, everyone.